How do we know the U is on the way back? Let's talk about the signs.
You are Locked On Canes, your daily podcast on the Miami Hurricanes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
I am Alex Dono, your host, University of Miami alumnus, longtime South Florida sports radio vet, and contributor to allhurricanes.com. Thank you so much to the everydayers for making Locked On Canes your first listen. We're available free wherever you get your podcasts and available free on YouTube. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. It is a Truth Teller Tuesday. Bruce Warner, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing good. I'm really excited about this show, that's for sure. And I guess these things are some sort of clues to our guest.
We have a special guest joining us. It's why we're wearing the towels. Sports Hall of Famer, former all-time great Miami Hurricanes assistant coach, legendary high school coach as well. Don Solinger is with us. How ironic that that Don, this is his trademark, he's the only one not wearing a towel today. Mr. Solinger, how are you?
I'm doing great. I'm really doing well.
Yeah, I was great because I called him last night. I said, Don, remember you said you would come on the show. Listen, we did a show last night, but it wasn't a show. He was talking to me for 45 minutes. And everybody that watched this show over the last 6 months knows that I go back a long way with these guys, but I know nothing compared to this guy right here. So we're thrilled to have Don. He's a legacy. He's a legend.
Yeah.
He really
I
is.
don't know about that. It's been it's almost 20 years now.
Look at all the players you had, man. You had Edgerrin, and you had James Jackson, and you had big game James Stewart, and you had Edge and Portis.
Yeah, I didn't have Stewart. I had Ferguson, Ferguson.
Danielle Ferguson, right.
Yeah, I came right after Stewart, but I was still in high school then. That's when Howard hired me. I was at a convention in Dallas, and right after they won the national championship, we lost the state championship, and he hired me. Matter of fact, I just saw Archer last week. When Archer went to LSU with Orangebarger, that's when I got the job at Miami. Because Archer
did a hell of a job, my friend. And you know what? One of the nicest guys, one of the nicest people that's affiliated with the Miami history is Don. So we thank you very much. So let's go into what we talked a little bit about last night. What's your thoughts on what's going on down there now?
I'm super excited. I've been following it since we got let go in 2005.
Yeah, you guys were scapegoats. You guys were scapegoats.
That never should have happened. Yeah.
It happened on a college level. That's one of the reasons I never left. That's one of the reasons I never moved on like Mario did. You had to make a choice of either staying or going, but since 2005, things have really been rough. It's been a rough road. I'll never forget the last they asked me, we're going in a different direction. They certainly went a different direction. After they got us, because they just haven't been able to get any consistency with the program. And Mario has that. Mario. We recruited Mario when I was there. My last years with Jimmy, we recruited. Louis was already playing. Lewis was already playing, and we recruited Mario. And he knows the program. He grew up like I did as a fan of University of Miami. He knows the program. He knows what's going on. He went away. He got his master's. He got his doctorate in football. He's done great at. He's really done well where he's been. And now he has a vision, and he brought back Alonzo, which I think was a great hire. Alonzo just has a myriad of talent with being in the pros. He just understands the history. And I don't think when you hire coaches from outside that really don't understand Miami and the dynamics of Miami, it's hard to get that across to the players. Even though they kept Kehoe and things like that, it's hard for an assistant coach to really relay it to everybody on the team. But Mario's the head guy, and he understands the traditions and the things that made Miami great, and he's headed in that direction. And, I was telling you, Bruce, I ran into him at the Columbus game, and, I don't throw praises out easily, but I'm super impressed with his presence and how he talks. He's very articulate about what he says. He knows what he wants. He sticks to his guns, which you have to do. I mean, there's a lot of controversial things. Last year was pretty controversial, losing a Steele and losing a Charlie Strong, but he stuck with it. He knows it wasn't working out. I'm going this direction, and he's followed Guidry.
Right.
And he's followed Guidry and also relate with the athletes. Kevin Beard's coaching. Tim Harris has experience with the University of Miami and high school. Come on, I mean, you're not going to find a classier guy than Tim or Kevin, and you can see it on the field. Their kids are producing, I wrote down a thing before this show. I wrote down two things. You have to recruit talent, but you know what you have to do? You have to develop guys. When you can develop, we recruited a Sean Taylor, very similar to Williams, the safety he's got now, the big safety he's got now. Great talent. Now when you can develop that talent to the max, now you've got a championship team. When you can develop the talent you have that you recruited and you can really develop it, that's the name of the game. When they get there, are they getting better each game? And I see that now.
Yeah, and something,
not to mention Jason Taylor.
Oh, yeah.
On the other side, you talk about recruiting and developing kids. I mean, you got Jason Taylor. He's in the Hall of Fame. These kids look up to him.
They got great coach. I mean, matter of fact, I listed the coaches. Salva's a great coach. Taylor's a great coach. Defensive line. Even Stroud. Stroud's been around. I think Stroud was a head coach. Todd was a head coach. Well, he's excellent. Dye was on a championship Georgia team. He coached a secondary on a championship, and the DBs are doing better. Everybody is doing better.
Right.
Hope Kitchens is doing well. I don't know if he'll play this week, but he's a type of Ed Reed type guy. Williams is a Sean Taylor type guy. Their corners are getting pretty good. Their linebacker plays a lot better. You just look at defensive line. Heck, Harrison Hunt had a good game the other day. He's been injured and stuff, but he's coming around. You can see that the kids are developing, and that's the thing that I look at. I'm very critical that way, because I know what we had and what we had to do to get where we had to go. And I see that happening again.
Yeah, and I want to get into that in more detail on the other side, because Don Solinger, of course, was a part of multiple national championship eras at Miami, and how you can see the signs that things are turning around. I also want to talk about the talent in the running back room right now, because Coach Solinger knows a thing or two about running back talent. We are only getting started. You want to keep it locked right here to Locked On Canes. And guys, keep it locked to FanDuel. We're having so much fun. The NFL season is back. College is back. You can snap into action this NFL season with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there is no better time to get in on the action. The app is super easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and so much more. I've been having a blast with my Canes and my Dolphins already. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and kick off that NFL season. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. Thank you so much for making Locked On Canes your first listen today. For the everydayers, with you for the second time today, and we're with you with a great one. Don Solinger is here with the truth teller, Bruce Warner. Now, Coach Solinger, do you see any similarities to, let's say, the Canes teams that you were coaching on mid to late 90s, right? When the tides were starting to turn towards what ended up being the 2001 championship team. And honestly, Miami could have won a couple more championships with that group, because in 2000 and 2002, they were so close. Right. Do you see similarities to the way things are now trending?
Well, yes, no question about it. I mean, I've been following this since I got let go, basically. I haven't, that's what I've been doing, is following it, on TV and things. Not like, not like insanely, but I've been following it pretty closely. And this is the first time I've seen it where things are starting to, there's still a lot of work to do. Don't get me wrong. You know, I mean, they can they can make, you know, tweaks in their defense, tweaks in their offense. There's still a lot of work, but these guys, you know, it's funny. I ran in at the Palmetto, might have been because he was, you know, Palmetto game, but there were either two offensive linemen there and stuff like that, and they're wearing shirts and they're proud as peacocks. You know, I mean, the kids are taking a lot of pride. I think the leadership on the team is starting to take fruition. You know, you never really saw it before. You know what you saw, and I was taking classes to renew my high school certificate, and everything was, all the kids that were athletes, they were in little bubbles. I mean, it was about them. It was about not team, about not each other, and I see that changing too. They care about each other. They're taking pride in doing well. And that's really typical of the running back room. You know, when they get in there, everybody's trying to outdo the other guy, and that's what makes you good, the competition.
You know, when we've had other former players on, they would all say the same thing. And I could attest to it, but you could say it as well. Everybody said the same thing. The practices were harder than the games. Yeah. And, you know, and let's go back to 89. When Dennis came in, he put in the one back. And I went with my friends to watch the guys practice and scrimmage. And I don't remember the offense doing too much. And then you go up to Wisconsin and blow them out 51-3. And I asked Stephen McGuire, I said, Stephen, you know, in practice, I watched you guys, you ran for a yard and a half. You thought it was like 40 yards because you guys look at the defensive line. He says, yeah, well, you know, what do you expect? I go up against Tez and Russell and those guys, and then I go out in the field. For me, and like he went through Florida State like a hot knife through butter. I mean, you know, when you went up there, you won 17-16. But my God, he says it's a huge difference what we do on the field and in the games.
Yeah, the competition on the field was ridiculous. When I got there from high school, I couldn't believe it. One of the things that really impressed me with Alonzo and those guys, and it stayed, and it kind of went through my first stint at Miami. They wouldn't accept mediocrity from each other. Mm-hmm. You know, that's the biggest key. If a kid messed up, you know, whether it was not going to class or not going to a weight workout or not doing what he was supposed to do on the field, making assignments, we would be butting up, you know, and not taking kids to the ground. All of a sudden, a kid would get nailed. I mean, really nailed. And I'm saying, well, what's that? You know, just take it easy on guys. What happened to me? Oh, they would not take it easy on guys. They controlled the locker room by how they practice on the field. If you weren't doing it, you knew a kid that was messing up because they would light a guy up if he wasn't doing the right thing.
They were like self-policed.
All the motivation. It really wasn't bullying. It was demanding excellence from each other. Sure. And if you didn't live up to that, you had a tough time at Miami as a player. You had to play with the glass full at Miami. If you didn't play with the glass full, and some guys' glasses full were not like Alonzo Highsmith or Mel Bratton or somebody like that, but they knew if you weren't giving it that total effort. And the total effort is the thing that was a big key. And the players kind of control. I don't know about that. I think I see that happening now. I see that happening at Miami. I think what you demand to young people, you get. If you can remove parents, get the parents out of the way and say, hey, turn them over to me. I'm not going to put your kid in the hospital. I'm going to make him better than he was when he got here, character-wise. Just watch. If you have a problem, you come in and talk to me. Let's see how good we can get your son. And that's the name of the game. And that's what these guys are doing, I think. They're getting, you know, you have to get out of that bubble and start thinking about each other and not letting each other down and things. And that's a championship attitude.
They're in a great spot to get some of these recruits, especially
there's a couple of things I'll say about that. First of all, Al Davis has said it, just win, baby, win. That's the name of the game. Right. That's why you're here. That's why you're at Miami. I was very fortunate in the 16 years there. It was 158 and 37. I mean, it was, or 38, something like that. It was some ridiculous number. I mean, we just won and won. So you got to win. There's no question about it. I mean, that helped us in recruiting. When I first started recruiting in '84, I was getting kicked out of schools if I was wearing UM shirts. But at the end, you know, everybody, you know, embraced it. You know, That's number one. Number two, it just, you just, once you start winning, everything starts falling in place. It just happens that way. And, and the kids are starting to, I think what you demand of them, you kind of get from them. Don't transfer. Like I look at the running back room, heck, they're playing Parrish. They're playing Allen Ajayi they're playing Fletcher, of course, was hurt last week. Cheney had a great game last week. This Johnson, I never even heard of this Johnson kid. He did well. He's a kid from Dillard,
fast.
I think.
Yeah.
That guy is quick as can be. Terrell Walden, his son, Terrell played for us. Terrell Walden's dad played for us. If you watch Terrell Walden, that guy's a player now. I mean, he's a walk-on, but he's a player. He's a good football player. Played in Orlando, and Citizen was considered one of the best. And these guys they don't mind competing. And Tim Harris is utilizing them like I kind of, that wasn't in vogue when I was coaching. That you wanted one guy and you kept one guy in, and that was it. And then, if he needed a rest, you put that guy in for 2 plays and then pulled him out. These guys are getting their turns to really show what they have. And I think Tim's doing a great job with them, and they're all competing and they're all working hard, and it's just going to make Miami better. That's the way I look at it. And so I think
I'd like to get our tight end back.
Huh?
I'd like to get our tight end Arroyo back because he's a weapon.
Yeah.
We need to get Arroyo.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. With tight ends, same thing. It's just I'm looking at it. It's exciting to watch for me. Because I see they're really being well coached. And I love what Gibby does. Huh?
It's about time, Coach. It's about time.
Yeah,
we talked about that last night. When Golden was here, he thought that Golden would succeed. The reason why he didn't succeed, the whole country knows why, because his defensive coordinator was not the kind of defense that the South Florida kids wanted to play. They used to play in your face and all that. And he's got these guys 10 yards off the line of scrimmage. I mean, I was watching one of the games with Dwayne Starks, and he said, Bruce, I can't even see our DBs on the TV screen. And it's true. And that was the downfall for Golden.
Well, Jimmy kind of laid the groundwork for that. He laid the groundwork for that. He's, he just, hey, as long as you're producing, you're happy. If you're not producing, you're not very happy. As a matter of fact, I'll show you real quick. I don't know if you can see this. I don't know if you can see it, but that's Jimmy's staff.
Oh,
on that staff, you talk about the staff. That's Chuck Pagano. That's Tuberville.
Right.
That Carlos Maynard. That's me. Wanstead. You got Tony Wise. You got Willie Martinez, who's at Tennessee now. Art, Gary, Brodsky, Jimmy, Axe, and Butch. It's an unbelievable staff. And they got a similar staff. They got guys. Yeah. They got a very similar staff to that. Mario knows what he's doing. I'm telling you, he got his doctorate in football. He knows what he wants. He's hiring the right guys. They seem to be meshing. They're really meshing well together. That's a big key with the staff. They're meshing very well. And, they're off to the races. I think they're doing a great job coaching. They really are, and they're going to get better. That's the key. I know he's not satisfied. You always can, there's always room for improvement, but their base stuff that they're doing offensively and defensively, excellent. And as they start adding to it, it's going to get better and better. I'm jacked. I don't know if you can tell.
We can tell, and we're jacked, and we have the pleasure here of being joined by Don Solinger. When we come back, I want to ask Coach his thoughts on Tyler Van Dyke, who's having a bounce-back year so far. There's no question about it for the Miami Hurricanes quarterback. So you want to keep it locked right here to Locked On Canes. And, folks, last-minute tickets should not be a stressful experience. It's not stressful at game time. That's actually when you get the best deals, is the day of the event at game time. With these flash deals and sales they have, you were getting into that Bethune-Cookman game at about $2. You were getting into the Miami-Ohio game at $9, Texas A&M game into the 30s. Forget planning months in advance. Game Time has tickets has deals on tickets right up to the day of the event. Sporting events, concerts, comedy shows, whatever you're looking to go to. I got tickets a couple weeks ago to Disney on Ice to take my 5-year-old to. I got great deals on those tickets as well. And you get something called the Game Time Guarantee. That means last-minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. We are joined here by Sports Hall of Famer Don Solinger on Locked On Canes. And, Coach, 3 games in, we're seeing great performances under center from Tyler Van Dyke. He's getting the protection he needs. His receivers, especially Restrepo, have really been stepping up. How do you evaluate Miami's starting quarterback, Tyler Van Dyke? Not only these first 3 games of the season, but the last couple of years as well. What do you see from him?
Well, I see a better offensive line. That helps him. I see better protection by the backs. That helps him. I see receivers making plays. That helps him. All the guys that have been great at Miami, you take Toretta with his year. He had Lamar, he had Copeland, he had Williams. He had a bunch of guys that
Darrell Spencer.
He threw the ball, they came down with it and made plays. Testaverde and those guys had Irvin and all the guys that we had, the Blades and those guys. So you got to, if you're going to be good, I look at the film. I look at what the kids are doing. Dawson's coaching quarterback, doing a pretty good job. The guy's productive. I mean, he's back to where he was a few years ago. I look at the coaching, and the film doesn't lie. As you start watching these things, they're playing good. Look at the backs. Damn, the backs are playing good. I wonder why. Because of what Harris is doing. Harris knows what he's doing. He's doing a good job. He stresses pass protection. He stresses when you get in, don't mess up because the next guy's right there. So the competition and things like that. So Van Dyke has always had the skills. He just hadn't had protection. If you don't protect, it happened last night in the Carolina game. That guy was a great quarterback. You don't protect him, you got problems. So protection, I kind of said it, to me, Van Dyke's the goose that laid the golden egg. If he stays healthy and he keeps progressing the way he does, you're going to win big time.
Yeah.
So here you are as a running back. If somebody's trying to hurt the goose that's laying the golden egg, you better lay the wood to him or you ain't going to be playing. I want to tell you that because my first thing was pass protection. If you can protect your quarterback, you got a shot because you got good receivers. They're going to make plays. That's the name of the game. And it's funny, really Bethune-Cookman, when we always were teasing each other as coaches, Bethune-Cookman to us, Chud would always come up, that's not a count game. We're supposed to beat those guys. Mm-hmm. But there are, like you're saying, Bruce, there are count games coming up. The North Carolina game, Clemson game. There are going to be some count games where it's going to be, we're going to have to fight for the 4 quarters and we're going to have to make plays all the way through. And somebody's going to have to come through at the end big time. And those are the games that you got to coach in and really, really play in and play your best in those games.
I think we learned a good lesson, though, against Texas A&M. We were down 10-0 and 17-7. And these kids fought back. If it wasn't for those 2 touchdowns, they stayed in the game. And that's important, Donnie, because now they have a reference in their head. You know what? If we're down, we could still win these games.
Yeah.
They didn't have
question
that.
About that. No question. That was a count game. They came back, they gave them 14 points.
Right.
Right out on a kickoff, fumble and that, and then I think it was a punt return or something. They gave them 14 points.
They blocked the punt. Yeah, your special teams. What do you did you watch that? I thought he took way too many steps before he punted it, and after that he didn't do that anymore.
Oh, on the block.
Punt off.
Well, those guys are a little bit different. Those Australian guys, they come off to the side, they run, they kick.
Right.
The protection is a little bit different than we use. They're not 2-steppers. You know what I mean? So it's a little bit different. I haven't really studied it that much, but they do take a lot of steps.
They take a lot of steps.
But anyway, no, you're right. The text. That's why I'm excited because that was definitely a count game, and they were behind, and they didn't turn it in. The teams I've seen in the past would fold. Wouldn't make big plays, would turn the ball over, or just they'd get their daubers down. These guys just kept coming after you, man. And that's Mario's. That's a lot. You know, that's what he wants. He wants somebody that's going to come after you for 4 quarters. Give it your best shot. We'll take what happens.
And not only that, but on the other side of the ball, our tackling is a million times better than it's been. The tackling has been pretty damn good. You know, bad angles for a long. That was the last couple of years, but they're hitting people, they're knocking people down, and they're playing with just vicious. I mean, they're bordering on some late hits. They're, you know, some Williams with a few late hits here and there, but
that's going to happen.
Football.
You know what? That's going to happen when you're aggressive. You know, I'd rather be aggressive. You know, I mean, I don't want dirty football, but it's going to happen some. I mean, these guys are trying to, giving it their all. You know, sometimes you want to get a late hit. You know, it's not dirty football or anything else. It's just playing hard all the time, and it happens sometimes. Guidry, you know, he's doing a lot of things, man. A lot of twists, a lot of games, a lot of slanting and movement. And I'm going to tell you, with all these one-back schemes, I'm going to tell you the way I feel. It's very difficult when you're running zone schemes to play against somebody that's coming after you like that and moving linemen and things like that. They get screwed up on their fits with who to go to and what to go. Sometimes you got to quad things. I mean, you got to make calls. You don't know when it's going to be a 4-man movement or a 2-man movement or a twist. To me, the only way to play Guidry is 2-back gap schemes and unbalanced schemes. You got to give them, and movement. You got to, you know, try to screw it around with them. These one-back schemes are very difficult. Zone schemes, that's why he's doing what he's doing. You can't block that stuff in zone, inside zones. Maybe on outside zone once in a while you'll see, because every once in a while he'll give up an edge, for example. You'll see a guy break out on the edge. That'll get fixed. But very difficult to run inside zone, and you don't have a lot. You know, if you take away the quarterback on one back, and you know there's not a whole lot of misdirection, a little bit, you know, your jet sweeps and things. But what this guy's doing, excellent, man. It's really good concept defensively against this one back stuff.
And he's screwing up the quarterbacks because they're blitzing from the corners, and with that one back, he's getting hit as soon as he gets the ball. Now, if they weren't in the shotgun, that may or may not happen, but in the shotgun, that gives our corners extra time to get in the backfield. And they were in the backfield a lot last week, and I'm sure they'll be doing that later on.
I'm telling you, it's hard. I look at it from an offensive standpoint. Look at what he's doing offensively. How are you going to stop it? The only way we would attack it, or I would attack it, is 2-back gap schemes, where everybody got, you know, you're gap down, you're kicking, you're bringing, you know, people around, and you know, break and contain on its own, you know, faking and breaking and contain. You got to do that, you know, play action pass, because I'll tell you what, it comes at all different angles from you, and you don't know when it's coming. He hides it really well. Guy's excellent. Guy's an excellent coach. And both sides, Dawson and he, are both excellent.
Well, I love the insight we can get here from a Sports Hall of Famer. Don Soldinger, can't thank you enough for taking the time. Thank you so much. And I love how, you know, we get these sort of breakdowns. Bruce and I can only imagine coming up with this stuff. You watch the games, obviously, with your experience with a different set of eyes, and we appreciate you sharing that insight with us.
Well, I'm going to tell you what, you guys are great. Anytime you want me, you got me. I love listening to you. You know what's going on. Your program, guys, and I love it. And that's the way I am. You know, I love this program. In spite of getting let go twice, I still love it. It's my team, and it was a big part of my life. And you guys do a great job. Thanks for having me.
Love it. Thank you, Don. And Bruce, thank you.
We're going to have you on again, buddy.
We will.
Okay.
Maybe
Thanks.
Clemson.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I hope so. I'm going to try to get to that game.
Oh, yeah. You should go, because I think I'm in the box with the players. I'm going with Caesar.
Oh, I may have to stop by that box as well, Bruce.
Yeah, I'm going to the box. Come up. You can get it, Donnie.
Thanks for having me. You guys are the best, man.
All right, thanks, Donnie. Be well.
Don Soldinger, excellent job. Thank everyone so much for tuning in. Smash that like button if you're watching on YouTube. If you're listening to the audio version, make sure to subscribe. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, wherever you get your pods. And we will talk to you next time on another episode of Locked On Canes, part of the awesome Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.